The sky burned
You came
violet above
back for
her,
me.
and
I
Lyra knew
always
she was
will.
running out of
So
places to hide.
Not as beautiful
Her
as
feet
you.
struck alien soil in
You
rhythm
came
with her
back for
hammering
me.
heart.
I
3
always will.
steps.
So
Breathe.
beautiful.
Not as
3
beautiful as you.
steps. Breathe. The pattern kept her alive for 2 years across 7 star systems. It would keep her alive today. It had to. Behind her, the whine of Vaith scout engines cut through the strange forest. The sound made her skin crawl, made the glowing constellation patterns beneath her pale blue surface flicker with fear. They were close. Too close. The trees around her curled their leaves inward, reacting to the vibration of pursuit. Even this planet knew violence when it heard it. Lyra's silver hair whipped across her face as she vaulted over a fallen log. Her right side burned where a scout's energy blast had grazed her 6 hours ago. The wound wasn't fatal, but it slowed her. And slow meant dead. She ducked beneath a low branch and pressed her back against a massive tree trunk. Her breath came in sharp gasps. The patterns under her skin pulsed faster, betraying her stress to anyone who could see. She forced herself to breathe slower, forced the light to dim. 24 months. 2 full cycles of running. 2 years of sleeping in cargo holds and abandoned stations. 2 years of being hunted by the only people she'd ever called family. The scout engines grew louder. Lyra closed her eyes and reached for the small device hidden in her torn clothing. A dampener. Vaith technology, ironically. It would mask her biosignature for maybe 10 minutes, maybe less. She activated it and felt the familiar pins and needles sensation as it scrambled her energy output. The scouts passed overhead. Sleek silver craft with segmented wings. Beautiful, deadly things. Lyra watched them through the canopy, watched them bank left toward the canyon networks in the distance. They hadn't seen her. Not yet. She allowed herself 3 seconds of relief. Then she started moving again. The forest opened into rocky terrain. Lyra climbed, her tall frame giving her advantage on the uneven ground. Vaith were built for grace, not brute strength, but her exile had taught her how to be both. Her fingers found holds in stone. Her legs pushed her upward. At the ridge she stopped, not to rest, to remember. The memory came sharp and unwelcome. Commander Thane, her mentor, placing a hand on her shoulder, his voice warm with pride. "You've done well, Lyra. Both sides trust you." She'd smiled. She'd actually smiled. Then she'd seen the data file. Late one night, unable to sleep, she'd wandered into the communication hub. A message half deleted. Coordinates. Strike plans. Language that made her blood run cold. The sabotage wasn't coming from one side, it was coming from both. Humans and Vaith hardliners working together to ensure peace failed. To ensure the war continued. Because war was profitable. War was familiar. War was easier than change. Lyra had copied the file, encrypted it, sent it to the human delegation with a simple message. Someone is lying to us all. 3 hours later, they'd come for her. Not humans, her own people. Thane had led them himself. His face no longer warm, no longer proud. "You've betrayed your species," he'd said quietly. "For what? For them?" She tried to explain, tried to show him the proof, but he'd already known. Of course he'd known. He was part of it. The peace talks collapsed the next day. Both sides blamed each other. The file Lyra sent was dismissed as forgery. And when the human colonies burned a week later, when Vaith cities were bombed in retaliation, Lyra's name was spoken with venom. Traitor, liar, spy. 3 months in a cell, 3 months of interrogation, 3 months of Thane visiting her, asking the same question. Who else knows? She never told him about the backup encryption. The failsafe she'd built into the message. If she died, the truth would scatter across every communication network in the galaxy. It was the only reason she was still breathing. She'd escaped during a prison transfer, stolen a scout ship, fled into the dark between stars, and she'd been running ever since. Lyra shook her head, clearing the past. The present demanded her attention. She crested the ridge and froze. Below her, in a valley of broken stone and twisted metal, a ship burned. Not Vaith, human. The dropship had crashed hard, carving a scar across the alien soil. Smoke rose in thick columns. Pieces of hull glowed cherry red. The impact crater was fresh. Minutes old, maybe less. Lyra's first instinct was to run. Humans meant danger. Humans meant the war that had destroyed her life. Humans meant movement. Someone crawled from the wreckage. A human, male, large frame, moving slow. He pulled himself halfway out, then collapsed. Lyra watched from the ridge. Her mind calculated distances, angles, risks. The Vaith scouts were searching the canyon. They'd see the crash smoke soon. They'd investigate. If she stayed here, she'd be caught. She should leave. She should run while the scouts were distracted. The human didn't move. Lyra closed her eyes. She thought of the peace talks, of the hope she'd carried, of the belief that drove her to risk everything. Someone must prove we are better than war. She'd said those words to Thane once before she knew what he was. He'd laughed. Lyra opened her eyes. She looked at the human bleeding in the wreckage below. She looked at the sky where Vaith scouts circled like predators. Then she made a choice that would change everything. She ran down the slope toward the crash. The ground was hot beneath her feet, radiating heat from the impact. Lyra reached the wreckage and dropped to her knees beside the human. He was face down, half buried under a twisted panel of hull plating. Blood pooled beneath him, dark against the alien soil. She grabbed the panel. It was heavy, searing hot. She ignored the pain and heaved. The metal groaned, shifted. She pulled harder, her muscles screaming. The panel came free and crashed aside. The human gasped, alive. Lyra rolled him over carefully. He was older than she expected, maybe 40, hard lines around his eyes, a scar along his jaw. His uniform was torn, burned in places. She could see at least 3 serious wounds, chest, leg, shoulder. He'd die without treatment. Soon. Lyra's hands moved on instinct. She'd learned field medicine during her flight. When you couldn't trust anyone, you learned to save yourself. She pressed her palm against the chest wound. Her bioluminescent patterns flared, and she channeled energy into the injury. Not healing. Vaith couldn't heal humans, but she could slow the bleeding. She could buy time. The human's eyes fluttered open. He saw her face, saw her alien features, saw the glowing patterns under her skin. His hand moved toward his hip, toward a weapon that wasn't there anymore. Lyra immediately raised both hands, backing away. "I help you," she said in broken English. The language felt clumsy in her mouth. "Don't shoot." The human stared at her. Confusion and pain warred in his expression. "Why would you—" His voice was rough, American accent, Southern maybe. "Why?" "Because," Lyra said quietly, "someone must prove we are better than war." The human's eyes widened slightly. Then he coughed and blood flecked his lips. His body tried to curl around the pain. Lyra moved back to him without thinking. "You are badly injured. I can slow the bleeding, but you need human medicine. My squad." The human tried to sit up, failed. "Did anyone else?" Lyra scanned the wreckage. She saw no other survivors, only bodies, only loss. "No," she said softly. "I am sorry." The human closed his eyes. For a moment, Lyra thought he had passed out. Then he spoke again. "You're Vaith." "Yes." "Your people are hunting me." Lyra paused. "Your people are hunting me too." That got his attention. His eyes opened, sharp despite the pain. "What?" "Long story," Lyra said. She glanced at the sky. The scout engines were getting louder. They'd spotted the smoke. "And we do not have time. Can you walk?" The human tried to move his leg. His face went white. "No." Lyra assessed him quickly. Tall, heavily built, at least twice her weight. She'd never be able to carry him far. "Then I need to treat your wounds here," she said, "before they come." "They?" The human's jaw tightened. "How many?" 3 scout ships, light weapons, but they will call for support." The human absorbed this. Despite his injuries, Lyra could see his mind working. Tactical thinking. Soldier's instinct. "How long?" 10 minutes, maybe 15. He looked at her carefully. "Why are you helping me?" Lyra met his eyes. "I could ask you the same question. You are looking at me like I am a person. Most humans do not." "Most humans," the man said quietly, "haven't had a Vath save their life." Something in his tone made Lyra pause. Not gratitude, not quite. Something deeper. Respect, maybe. Recognition. "What is your name?" she asked. "Sergeant Declan Rourke, 42nd Diplomatic Security Division." He paused. "But everyone just calls me Rourke." Lyra. No rank? Not anymore. Rourke studied her face. The hunters become the hunted. Yes. He nodded slowly as if confirming something to himself. Then he reached for a pouch on his belt. His hand was shaking but determined. He pulled out a small medical kit. There's coagulant foam in here. Sealant bandages. I'll talk you through it. Lyra took the kit. You will tell me what to do. Yeah. Rourke's mouth twisted in something that wasn't quite a smile. I've been shot before. I know the drill. She opened the kit. Inside was equipment she didn't recognize, but the basic principles seemed universal. Stop bleeding, prevent infection, keep the patient conscious. Chest wound first, Rourke said. His voice was steadier now. Focusing on the task was helping him manage the pain. There's a blue canister. Foam expands to fill the wound cavity. Lyra found it. This? Yeah, you'll need to cut away my uniform first. Use the blade in the kit. She did. The fabric was tough, reinforced. When she peeled it back, the wound was worse than she'd thought. Deep, ragged. She could see bone. Bad? Rourke asked. Yes. But survivable? Lyra hesitated, then decided truth was better than comfort. If we stop the bleeding and you get real medical care within 6 hours, yes. 6 hours, Rourke laughed, a harsh sound. Well, that's optimistic. Lyra applied the foam. It hissed as it expanded, filling the wound. Rourke's entire body went rigid. His jaw clenched so hard she heard teeth grinding. But he didn't scream. Good, he managed. Now the leg. She moved to his leg. The wound there was cleaner. A penetration injury. Shrapnel, probably. She used the sealant bandages, layering them carefully. You've done this before, Rourke observed. Since my exile, I learned many skills. Exile is a long time to survive alone. Yes. The scout engines were very close now. Lyra worked faster. The shoulder wound was superficial by comparison. She sealed it quickly. There, she said, you will not die in the next hour. That's comforting. Rourke tried to sit up. This time he made it, though his face went gray with effort. We need to move. You cannot walk. Then you need to leave me. Lyra looked at him. No, I'm dead weight. You said it yourself. You can't carry me. They'll catch us both. Then we find another way. Rourke stared at her. Wishinu, he asked quietly. Why does it matter to you if I live? Lyra was silent for a moment. The scout engines roared overhead. She could see them now, circling the crash site, maybe 90 seconds until they landed. Because 2 years ago, she said, I tried to save both our species, and everyone called me a traitor for it. She pulled a small device from Rourke's belt. It looked military, complex. What is this? Stealth emitter, prototype. Rourke's eyes widened. How did you know? I was chief translator for peace talks. I studied human technology. Lyra activated the device. This bends light, creates distortion field. Yes? Yeah, but it only works for maybe 20 minutes. The power cell is 20 minutes is enough. Lyra hooked an arm under his shoulder. Can you stand if I help? Rourke gritted his teeth. I can try, yeah. Together they got him upright. He was heavy, leaning most of his weight on her. But Lyra was stronger than she looked. Her flight across the stars had built muscle her scholar's life never required. The stealth emitter hummed. The air around them shimmered, bent. To anyone looking, they'd appear as nothing more than heat distortion, a trick of atmosphere. The first scout ship landed 30 meters away. Lyra felt Rourke tense. Stay still, she whispered. Don't move. Don't even breathe heavy. The scout's hatch opened. A Vaith warrior emerged. Tall, armored, weapon-ready. She knew the type. Hunting specialist. Thane's personal unit. The warrior scanned the crash site. Its helmet sensors swept across the wreckage, searching for life signs. The scan passed right over Lyra and Rourke. Kept going. The warrior signaled to the ship. 2 more emerged. They began examining the wreckage, checking bodies. Lyra started moving, slowly, each step carefully placed. Rourke moved with when his breathing controlled despite the pain. They crossed open ground. 10 meters, 20, 30. One of the warriors turned, looking directly at them. Lyra stopped breathing. The warrior's helmet tilted, sensors active, searching. Then it turned away. called something to its companions in Vaith language. Lyra understood every word. No survivors. Standard crash pattern. Notify command. They kept moving. The forest edge was close. 50 meters. 40. Rourke stumbled. His leg gave out. Lyra caught him, but the movement was sudden. Visible. A warrior's head snapped around. Lyra didn't wait. She pulled Rourke into the tree line. The warrior shouted. Energy blasts scorched the air behind them. Go! Rourke gasped. Leave me, run! No. Lyra half dragged him deeper into the forest. The warriors couldn't see clearly, but they were coming. She found a hollow beneath a massive root system, pulled Rourke into it. They pressed against the dirt, hidden in shadow. The warriors swept past, searching, calling to each other. Rourke's hand found a device on his belt. He pulled it free. Emergency beacon, he whispered. I activate this, my people will come. And so will mine, Lyra said. Everyone will come. You have a better idea? Lyra thought fast. The canyon networks she'd seen from the ridge. How far can you move? Not far. There is a canyon, 2 kilometers. Rocky terrain, good defensive positions. Rourke's eyes sharpened. You know tactics. I know survival. He considered this. If we reach the canyon, we might last a few hours. Maybe buy time for rescue. Or until they bring more ships. Yeah, Rourke looked at her. This is a bad plan. You have a better one? No. He managed a rough laugh. All right, let's go get trapped in a canyon. They moved carefully through the forest. Lyra supporting Rourke, both listening for pursuit. The stealth emitter's power cell was dying. The shimmer around them flickered intermittently. After 20 minutes, it died completely. They were exposed now. Lyra pushed harder, finding paths through the densest undergrowth. Rourke's breathing was labored, but he kept moving. Soldier's discipline. He wouldn't quit until his body quit for him. The canyon emerged ahead. A massive geological formation. Walls of striated rock rising hundreds of meters. Multiple levels, caves, narrow passages. A nightmare for attackers. A fortress for defenders. There, Lyra said, we can... Rourke's comm device beeped. A weak signal cutting through interference. He pulled it out. The screen was cracked, barely functional. But data was coming through, encrypted. He worked the controls with shaking hands. What is it? Lyra asked. Rourke stared at the screen. His face went very still. It's a file, heavily encrypted, standard diplomatic protocol. From who? I don't know. It's been in my system for... He scrolled through timestamps. His eyes widened. 2 years. It's been in my system for 2 years. Lyra's heart stopped. Show me. Rourke angled the screen. The encryption header showed a Vaith signature, a specific code Lyra knew intimately, because she'd written it. That is mine, she whispered. That is the file I sent. The proof of sabotage. Rourke looked at her sharply. You're S-47. What? S-47, source 47, that's what command called you. His voice was rough with something between awe and disbelief. Commander Hayes briefed us 3 months ago, said a Vaith translator had sent intel about the peace talk sabotage, said the source went dark, presumed dead. Lyra felt dizzy. Someone received it. Someone believed me. Yeah, Rourke's jaw was tight. Hayes believed you. That's why we're here. Diplomatic security was sent to investigate, to find proof the talks were sabotaged from both sides. And to find me. We didn't know you were still alive, but yeah, if we found you, we were supposed to bring you back. You're the only witness who can testify to what really happened. Lyra sat down hard. 24 months, 2 years of running, thinking she'd failed, thinking the truth had died with her. I am not dead, she said quietly. No. Rourke looked at her with new understanding. You are very much alive, and that makes you the most valuable person in this whole damn war. Above them, the sky darkened, not with night, with shadow. They both looked up. A ship descended through the clouds. Not a scout, not a fighter. A warship, massive. Vaith design, personal flagship class. Its hull gleamed silver and black, segmented armor plates sliding over each other like a living thing. Weapons ports opened along its flanks. Scanning arrays deployed, and from its communication array, A voice boomed across the valley, amplified, inescapable. Lyra recognized it immediately. Lyra, Doctor of Vaith, I know you are there. Commander Thane, 2 years you have run, 2 years you have hidden, but I have found you at last. The warship's targeting systems activated. Red beams swept the forest, the canyon, the crash site. You are not alone. I see the human signature, the survivor. Rourke gripped his rifle, though his hands shook from blood loss. Thane's voice continued, almost conversational. Let me be clear. The human with you is a war criminal. Sergeant Declan Rourke of the 42nd Division. His unit was responsible for the colony massacre at Verith Prime. 18,000 Vaith civilians dead. Lyra turned to Rourke. He was staring at the warship, his face ashen. Is that true? She asked. No, Rourke's voice was hollow. My unit was assigned to protect those colonies. We arrived 3 hours after the massacre. We saw the bodies, the children. We were sent to help, and we couldn't save anyone. Lyra believed him. She didn't know why, but she believed him. Thane's voice cut through again. You have one choice. Surrender separately, and you will be judged by your own species, or die together and prove you are both traitors and everything you once held sacred. The warship's weapons charged, a sound like thunder building. Lyra looked at Rourke. He looked at her. Well, Rourke said quietly, I guess we know why we both need to survive now. Yes, Lyra helped him stand. We both have proof. You have my file, I have my testimony. Together we expose Thane. We expose everyone who sabotaged peace. Together, Rourke agreed, 2 species, 1 truth. The warship released its hunting drones, sleek machines that detached from the hull like wasps from a nest. They arrowed toward the canyon. Lyra and Rourke stumbled deeper into the stone maze. Behind them, the warship descended like a falling city. Thane's voice echoed one final time. Run, little traitor. Run, false soldier. I will enjoy watching you die. But in the canyon shadow, wounded and hunted by both their worlds, Lyra and Rourke had something Thane didn't expect. They had each other. They had the truth, and they had nothing left to lose. The hunt was on. The canyon swallowed them whole. Lyra guided Rourke through narrow passages where rock walls pressed close enough to scrape shoulders. His breathing came in harsh gasps, each step costing him more than the last. Blood seeped through the bandages she'd applied. He was dying, slowly, but dying. How much farther? Rourke asked. Lyra scanned ahead. The canyon branched in 3 directions. She chose the center path where the walls were highest, better cover from aerial scans. There is a wider chamber ahead. We can rest there. Rest, Rourke laughed bitterly. That's optimistic. Above them, the warship's engines rumbled, not moving, hovering, waiting. Thane wasn't rushing. He had time. He had overwhelming force. He could afford patience. Lyra pulled Rourke around a corner and into the chamber she'd spotted. It was larger than she'd hoped, maybe 50 meters across, with multiple cave entrances leading deeper into the canyon network. Natural defensive position. She lowered Rourke against a boulder. He slumped immediately, eyes closing. Stay awake, Lyra ordered. I need to check your wounds. Why bother? His voice was faint. We're dead anyway. Not yet. Lyra examined the chest bandage. The foam had held, but barely. The sealant on his leg was failing. She had nothing left in his medical kit. Nothing to work with. A shadow crossed overhead. One of Thane's drones scanning the canyon. Lyra pressed herself against the rock, pulling Rourke's arm around her to shield them both. The drone passed, kept searching. Lyra, Rourke said. His eyes were open now, focused on her. If I don't make it, you will. If I don't, he continued firmly, you need to know something. The file you sent. It's not just on my comm device. It uploaded to our central database when my ship was still in orbit. Lyra stared at him. What? Standard security protocol. All encrypted communications get backed up to military servers. Your message is already in human custody. He smiled weakly. Even if Thane kills us both, the truth survives. Then why did you say I was the only witness? Because you are. Data can be dismissed as forgery, but you lived it. You know details no file could capture. You're the proof that can't be denied. Lyra sat back. So I still must survive. We both must. Rourke shifted, wincing. You have the story. I have the context. Together, we're unassailable. The canyon trembled. Not from the warship, from something else. Lyra looked down. The stone beneath her feet was warm, pulsing slightly, like a heartbeat. This planet is strange, she murmured. Strange how? Living, the rocks, the vines. They respond to stimulus, to sound, to movement, to violence. Lyra's mind was racing. During my research before the war, there were theories about worlds with bio-integrated geology, organic networks running through the crust like nerves. Rourke's tactical instinct kicked in despite his pain. Could we use that? Perhaps. Lyra stood, examining the canyon walls. She saw them now, vines growing in spiral patterns around rock formations, glowing faintly, pulsing in rhythm with the stone. These vines, they carry energy, like blood vessels. How much energy? Enough to power Vaith biotechnology, maybe more. Above them, the warship descended lower. Thane's voice boomed again. I grow impatient, Lyra. Surrender now, and the human dies quickly, painlessly. Continue this farce, and I will make you watch him suffer for days. Lyra looked at Rourke. Can you move? Define move. Can you crawl to that cave entrance while I distract them? Rourke assessed the distance. Maybe 20 meters. Yeah, probably. Why? Because I have an idea, but I need time to prepare. Lyra pulled his rifle from where it had fallen. Check the charge. Quarter power remaining, and you need to be somewhere safe. Safe doesn't exist right now. Safer then. She helped him up, supported him as they crossed to the cave entrance. Inside was darkness, but shelter. Stay here, stay quiet, I will return. Lyra, trust me. She pressed the rifle into his hands. If anything comes through that entrance that is not me, shoot it. Then she was gone, moving back into the canyon chamber. Rourke watched her go. This alien woman who'd saved his life, who believed cooperation was possible even when both their worlds called them traitors. He trusted her. God help him. He did. Lyra moved to the center of the chamber where the vine clusters were thickest. She placed her hands on the pulsing organic network and closed her eyes. Her Vaith biosignature resonated with the vines. They responded, glowing brighter. She'd studied biotechnology at the academy, before the war, before everything fell apart. She knew how these systems worked, living circuitry that could store and transfer massive amounts of energy. The Vaith had tried to harvest it from multiple worlds, always failed. The networks were too complex, too integrated with planetary geology to extract safely, but that didn't mean they couldn't be triggered. A drone descended into the canyon, sweeping with its sensors. Lyra stayed perfectly still, let it scan her, let it confirm her position. The drone hovered, locking on. Its weapons charged. Lyra smiled. She channeled her biosignature into the vine network. Hard. The vines flared brilliant blue. The drone hesitated, confused by the sudden energy spike. Then the vines discharged. A pulse of bioelectric energy exploded outward. The drone's systems frittered. It dropped from the sky, crashing into rock. Dead. But the discharge also painted a target on Lyra's position. Every scanner on the warship would have detected that surge. She ran. 3 more drones descended, converging on her last location. Lyra was already 50 meters away, sliding into another passage. Behind her, the drones found nothing but residual energy signatures. Thane's voice crackled across every speaker. Clever little traitor, but you cannot hide from me forever. Lyra didn't plan to hide. She planned to fight, but not the way Thane expected. She moved through the canyon network, memorizing passages, identifying every vine cluster, every energy node. The planet was a weapon. She just needed to aim it. When she returned to the cave, Rourke was conscious but pale, feverish. You're burning up, Lyra said, touching at his forehead. Infection, probably. Occupational hazard. He tried to smile. Did your idea work? Partially. I destroyed 1 drone, but I showed Thane something important. What? That this planet can fight back. Lyra sat beside him. The warship is hovering over the canyon, directly over multiple major energy nodes. If I can trigger a cascade reaction, the feedback would disrupt their hovering systems, Rourke finished. His eyes gleamed with understanding. Force them to crash or retreat. Yes. That's brilliant. He coughed, blood speckling his lips. Also insane. You'd need to supercharge the entire network, connect multiple nodes, create a feedback loop strong enough to punch through military-grade shielding. I know. Lyra, that kind of energy discharge could kill you, or it could save us both. They sat in silence. Outside, drones swept the canyon, searching, hunting. Tell me how to do it, Rourke said finally. What? I'm a weapons specialist. I've rigged more improvised explosives than I can count. Tell me what you need and I'll walk you through it. Lyra looked at him, at this dying human who refused to quit. You can barely stand. So you'll be my legs. I'll be your tactical advisor. He pulled out his small toolkit. Inside were charges, detonators, wiring. We've got enough here to create trigger points, connect the nodes, force the cascade. The timing must be perfect. Then we'll make it perfect. Rourke's voice was steel. What's the optimal configuration? Lyra described what she'd seen. 7 major vine clusters arranged roughly in a circle around the canyon. If she could connect them, create a synchronized discharge when the warship was positioned directly overhead, Rourke's mind worked through the problem. You'll need to wire them in series, each cluster triggering the next, building the charge exponentially until the final release. How long will that take? To wire 7 clusters across a kilometer of canyon, Rourke thought. 3 hours, maybe 4, if you're fast and the drones don't find you. Lyra checked the time. Midday now. They had maybe 6 hours until dark. Darkness would help her move unseen. I can do it, she said. Not alone, you can't. Rourke tried to stand, failed, tried again. This time he made it, though he swayed. I can't wire the charges, but I can watch your back. I can shoot drones. I can buy you time. You are dying. Then I'll die doing something useful. He chambered a round in his rifle. Let's go kill a warship. They moved together, Lyra supporting Rourke, both watching the sky. The first vine cluster was close, a massive spiral of glowing organic matter wrapped around a stone pillar. Lyra worked quickly, placing a small charge at the base of the cluster. Rourke guided her through the wiring. Red wire to the node's primary conduit, black wire to ground. Don't let them touch or you'll trigger early. She followed his instructions precisely, the charge armed with a soft beep. 1 down, Rourke said. 6 to go. They moved to the second cluster. Halfway there, a drone spotted them. Rourke didn't hesitate. He fired. The shot was perfect, striking the drone's core. It exploded in a shower of sparks. Nice shot, Lyra said. I have my moments. He was breathing hard. The exertion was costing him. Keep moving. Second cluster, armed. Third cluster, armed. At the fourth cluster, Rourke collapsed. Lyra caught him, lowered him carefully. Declan? I'm fine. He clearly wasn't. His skin was gray, his hands shook. Just need a minute. They didn't have a minute. 2 drones descended, targeting their position. Lyra grabbed his rifle, fired, missed. The recoil surprised her, throwing her aim off. She adjusted, fired again. 1 drone fell. The second drone locked onto her, its weapon charged. Rourke's hand found hers, steadied her aim. Breathe out, squeeze, don't pull. She followed his guidance. The shot flew true. The drone shattered. Good, Rourke gasped. You're a natural. I am a translator, not a soldier. Right now, you're both. He pointed ahead. 4th cluster. Let's finish this. They kept going. 4th cluster, armed. 5th. At the 6th cluster, Thane's voice returned. Closer now. The warship had descended further, hunting them actively. Lyra, this is pointless. You cannot win. I have superior firepower. Superior numbers. Superior position. Surrender and I will make your death meaningful. You will be remembered as a warning to all who betray their species. Lyra's jaw tightened. She worked faster, wiring the charge. Rourke watched her. What did he say? Threats, promises. She armed the 6th charge. Nothing important. You understand him, the Vaith language. Yes, I was translator, remember? Then you heard everything he's been broadcasting. Rourke's eyes were sharp despite his fever. Every lie he's told about both of us. I heard. And Lyra stood, helping him up. And I will prove him wrong, one cluster at a time. When they reached the seventh and final cluster, the largest. The Vine network here was massive, pulsing with stored energy. It would be the amplifier, the final trigger that would cascade through all 6 previous charges and create a feedback loop strong enough to punch through warship shielding. Lyra placed the last charge, wired it carefully. Rourke supervised, his voice growing weaker with each instruction. There, he said, finally, all 7 connected. Now you just need to trigger the sequence when the warship is positioned directly overhead. How will I know the right moment? Rourke pulled out a small device from his belt, a rangefinder. This will tell you, when the warship is within optimal discharge range, this light turns green. You trigger then. Lyra took the device. And what will you do? I'll be right here, providing moral support. Declan, Lyra. He caught her hand. I can't walk anymore. My leg is gone. I'm burning with infection, but I can hold a rifle. I can watch your back while you wait for the perfect shot. She wanted to argue, wanted to carry him to safety, but there was no safety, not anymore. All right, she said. We wait together. They positioned themselves behind a boulder with clear sight lines to the sky. Rourke settled his rifle across his lap. Lyra held the detonator in one hand, the rangefinder in the other. The warship circled overhead like a predator. Closer, Lyra whispered. Come closer. As if hearing her, the warship descended. Scanning beams swept the canyon, searching methodically. The rangefinder's light flickered. Yellow. Not yet, Rourke said. Drones swept past. Rourke fired. 1 fell. 2 more descended. He fired again. Another kill. You are running out of ammunition, Lyra observed. Then I'll make the last shots count. The warship lowered further. Its massive bulk blocked out the sky. The rangefinder light turned amber. Almost, Lyra breathed. Thane's voice boomed one final time. I see you, Lyra, hiding behind your rocks, behind your human shield. You were always a coward, unable to commit, unable to choose a side. Lyra's finger hovered over the detonator. I chose a side, she said quietly. I chose truth. The rangefinder light turned green. Now, Rourke said. Lyra pressed the detonator. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the canyon floor lit up like a star being born. 7 charges detonated simultaneously. 7 vine clusters discharged their stored energy in perfect synchronization. The feedback loop formed instantly, cascading through the planetary network. Bioelectric energy surged upward in a pillar of blinding light. It struck the warship's underside with the force of a hammer blow. The shields held for 3 seconds. Then they failed. Energy poured into the warship's systems. Circuits exploded. Hovering arrays sparked and died. The massive vessel lurched, tilting. Thane's voice cut out mid-broadcast. The warship's engines screamed, trying to compensate. But the planetary discharge had fried too many systems. The hovering field collapsed completely. The warship fell, slowly at first, like a mountain learning to move. Then faster, accelerating. It slammed into the canyon ridge 2 kilometers away. The impact shook the world. Rock exploded. A mushroom cloud of dust and debris rose into the sky. Thunder rolled across the landscape. Silence fell. Lyra and Rourke stared at the burning wreckage in the distance. We did it, Lyra whispered. We actually did it. Rourke tried to speak, failed. His rifle slipped from his hands. Declan? Lyra turned to him. His eyes were closing. No, stay awake. Stay with me. Tired, he murmured, so tired. You cannot rest yet. We must. The ground beneath them trembled. Not from the warship crash. Something else. Something deeper. Lyra felt it through her feet, through her hands pressed against stone. A rhythmic pulse, growing stronger. From the canyon floor, metallic structures began to rise. Pillars of ancient design covered in symbols neither human nor Vaith. They unfolded like mechanical flowers, revealing red cores that pulsed with hostile intent. A voice echoed across the canyon, not Thane. Something older, colder, coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. Unauthorized conflict detected, weapons discharge confirmed, violence parameters exceeded. Lyra's blood ran cold. Defense protocol active. Red beams swept the canyon. Where they touched stone, the rock dissolved into fine powder. Extermination sequence initiated. Drones emerged from the pillars. Sleek machines with glowing red cores. They hovered, scanning, searching for targets. One locked onto the burning warship wreckage. Its beam carved through metal like paper. Another turned toward Lyra and Rourke. No, Lyra breathed. She grabbed Rourke, pulling him behind the boulder as the beam sliced overhead. The top of the boulder vanished, turned to dust. We stopped the warship, she said desperately. We ended the violence. The cold voice responded. Violence detected. Species designation. Irrelevant. Threat level. Terminal. Response. Elimination. More pillars rose, more drones deployed. The canyon was transforming into a killing field, and Lyra realized with horror what they'd awakened. This planet had been a research station, a place where humans and Vaith worked together before the wars. And when violence came to this sacred ground, when cooperation failed and weapons were drawn, the planet itself had activated one final protocol. Kill everything that brought war to paradise. Lyra looked at Rourke. He was barely conscious, unable to move, unable to fight. She looked at the drones circling overhead, at the red beams carving through stone and metal with equal ease. She looked at the pillars rising across the canyon. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. And she understood that they'd survived Thane only to face something far worse, the planet itself. Declan, she said urgently, I need you to wake up. I need your tactical mind. How do we fight this? Rourke's eyes opened. Focused with effort, he saw the drones, the pillars, the red death painting the canyon. We don't fight it, he said. His voice was barely audible. We reason with it. How do you reason with the defense system? Same way you stopped it before. Cooperation. Prove we're not the enemy. A drone descended toward them, its core charging. Lyra grabbed Rourke and ran. She didn't know where, just away. Away from the death beams, away from the drones, deeper into the canyon network. Behind them, the world ended in red light and turning stone to dust. And ahead, barely visible through the destruction, stood one pillar larger than all the others. A central structure covered in symbols from both species. Human engineering merged with Vaith biotechnology, the heart of the defense network. Their only chance. There, Lyra gasped, pointing. Rourke saw it. Central control hub. If we reach it, big if. 3 drones blocked their path. More converged from behind. Lyra had no weapons, no plan, only desperation. She did the only thing she could think of. She sang. A Vaith harmonic, a frequency used in peaceful greeting, a sound that said, friend, ally, no threat. The drones hesitated. Their targeting systems flickered. It wasn't enough to stop them, but it bought seconds. Lyra ran. She reached the central pillar and pressed her hand against its surface. The symbols glowed, responded to her biosignature. The pillar opened, revealing an interface. Living technology. Vaith bioconnections merged with human data systems. And across its surface, a message in both languages. Defense protocol active to disable. Guardian consciousness required biological upload. Necessary permanent integration. Lyra read it twice. Understanding dawned with terrible clarity. Someone had to merge with the network. Become its consciousness. Guide it. Control it. Forever. No, Rourke said. He'd crawled to her side. Lyra, no! There is no other way. There has to be. The drones closed in. Red light painted the world. And Lyra looked at Rourke. At this human who'd trusted her. Who'd fought beside her. Who'd proven cooperation was possible. She thought of 24 months running, of fear, of loneliness, of believing she'd failed, and she thought of what she could become. Not a fugitive, not a traitor, a guardian. Tell them, she said to Rourke, tell both our species what happened here. Lyra, promise me. Rourke's eyes filled with tears. I promise. Lyra placed her hands on the bio-connections. The upload began, and the world transformed. The bio-connections wrapped around Lyra's wrists like gentle vines. She gasped as the integration started. It didn't hurt, not exactly, but she could feel herself expanding, opening, her consciousness stretching beyond the boundaries of her body into something vast and ancient and beautiful. Lyra! Rourke's voice sounded distant, though he was right beside her. Stop! There has to be another way! But there wasn't, and they both knew it. The drones had frozen mid-attack when she touched the interface, hovering in place, waiting. The red targeting beams dimmed to amber. Not deactivated, just paused. Curious. Lyra could feel the planetary network now. Could feel every vine, every stone, every living system connected through billions of years of organic growth. The planet was conscious, had always been conscious. The defense network wasn't artificial intelligence. It was the planet itself, protecting what it held sacred. Peace, cooperation, the dream that humans and Vaith had once shared. Before the wars, before the betrayals, before everything fell apart. System detecting biological signature, the cold voice announced. But it sounded different now. Less hostile, more interested. Vaith genetic markers confirmed. Consciousness integration, 7% complete. Rourke grabbed her shoulders. Lyra, listen to me. The network needs a guardian, yes, but it doesn't have to be you. You cannot interface with it. Lyra's voice was distant. Part of her was already somewhere else, somewhere bigger. You are human, wrong biology. Then we find someone else. We call for help. We have minutes before the drones resume their attack. Lyra met his eyes. Even now she could see him clearly, could see the desperation in his face, the grief. And I am tired of running, Declan Rourke. Tired of being afraid. Let me become something better. This isn't better. This is prison. No, Lyra smiled, and for the first time in 2 years, the smile reached her eyes. This is purpose. The integration reached 15%. Lyra could feel individual leaves now, could sense the flow of water through underground channels, could hear the whisper of wind across distant valleys. It was extraordinary. From the wreckage of the warship, a figure emerged, burned, bloody, but alive. Commander Thane. He limped toward them, dragging one leg. His armor was cracked, smoking. One arm hung useless, but in his good hand, he carried a plasma rifle, charged and ready. The drones tracked him, but didn't fire. The network was confused. It detected violence in his intent, but hadn't received clear instructions about how to respond. Not yet. Lyra, Thane called. His voice was damaged, rasping through a broken helmet speaker. Still trying to save everyone. Still naive enough to believe it matters. Lyra watched him approach. She should have been afraid, but the fear was fading, diluted by her expanding consciousness. She was becoming something that couldn't be threatened by one broken soldier. It matters, she said. It always mattered. To who? Thane laughed bitterly. The humans who call you traitor? The Vaith who hunt you across the stars? Both our species want you dead, girl, and you're still trying to save them. Not them. Lyra's constellation patterns blazed bright, spreading across her entire body as the integration deepened. The future, the possibility, the dream we abandoned. Thane raised his weapon, aimed at Rourke. Then watch your dream die with your human friend. Rourke tried to stand, couldn't. His rifle was 10 meters away, dropped when he'd collapsed. He was defenseless. No, Lyra said. The drones responded instantly. 5 of them dropped from the sky, placing themselves between Thane and Rourke. A living shield. Thane's eyes widened. You're already controlling them. The network responds to intent. Lyra's voice echoed strangely, as if speaking from multiple places at once. I protect. You threaten. It knows the difference. Then why hasn't it killed me? Because I have not asked it to. Thane lowered his weapon slightly. You should. I destroyed your life. Hunted you for 2 years. I would have killed you both without hesitation. He looked genuinely confused. Why show me mercy? Because someone must prove we are better than our worst instincts. Lyra's integration reached 30%. She could feel Thane now through the planetary network, could sense his heartbeat, his pain, his rage that masked something deeper. Fear. He was afraid of what she represented, afraid that cooperation might actually work. Because if it did, everything he'd built his life on, the necessity of war, the inevitability of conflict, would be exposed as a lie. You're a fool, Thane said, but his voice lacked conviction. Perhaps. Lyra's body was glowing now, the light spreading from her constellation patterns until she looked like a being made of stars. But I would rather be a fool who believes in peace than a warrior who thrives on war. Thane stared at her. For a moment, something like regret crossed his ruined face. Then he raised his weapon again. Not at Rourke, at the pillar's interface. If I can't kill you, he said, I'll kill the network itself. He fired. The blast struck the pillar's bio-connections. They shattered, severing Lyra's physical connection to the interface. She screamed. The integration stopped at 37%, incomplete, unstable. Her consciousness was stretched between two states, partially merged with the network, but still tethered to her failing body. The planetary defense system reacted immediately. Hostile action detected. Direct attack on Guardian interface confirmed. Every drone in the canyon locked onto Thane. Wait, Lyra gasped, but her voice was weak. The incomplete integration had damaged her. She was bleeding light, her biosignature fragmenting. Don't kill him, please. The drones hesitated. Thane looked at her. You're still protecting me, even now. I am protecting the idea, Lyra said. Her physical body was failing, but her consciousness remained expanded. She could feel the network's confusion. It wanted to eliminate the threat, but it also responded to her will, to her command for mercy. The idea that we can choose differently, that violence is not inevitable. You're dying, Thane observed. Yes. The integration is incomplete. You'll fragment, lose yourself in the network without ever fully joining it. I know. Rourke had dragged himself to her side. Can we reconnect you? Finish the upload. Lyra looked at the shattered bio-connections. No, the interface is destroyed. Then we abort. Pull you back out. I'm already too far in. Pulling back now would kill me instantly. She touched his face with a glowing hand. This is what happens when cooperation is broken by violence, Declan. Everything falls apart. Thane stepped forward. The drones tracked him but didn't fire. There's another way. Both Lyra and Rourke looked at him. The network needs a complete Guardian consciousness, Thane continued. Right now, you're incomplete, fragmenting. But if someone else uploaded simultaneously, merged their consciousness with yours, it might stabilize the integration. You mean two Guardians, Rourke said. Yes. Would that even work? Thane gestured at the pillar. This place was built by humans and Vaith working together. The entire network is designed for cooperative consciousness. One of each species, merged together, guiding it as one. Lyra felt a surge of hope. You are correct. I can sense it now. The network was always meant for two minds, human and Vaith. That is why my integration alone feels incomplete. Then I'll do it, Rourke said immediately. No, Thane's voice was firm. You're human, but the interface is destroyed. You can't upload through the primary connection. Then how? Through her. Thane pointed at Lyra. She's already partially integrated. If you connected to her consciousness, merged with her fragmenting mind, you could both complete the upload together. That's insane, Rourke said. It's the only way. Lyra could feel the truth in Thane's words. The network was designed for cooperative consciousness. Two minds working as one. Human logic and Vaith intuition. Cold efficiency and warm compassion. Together they could be complete. Why are you helping us? Rourke asked Thane. Thane was silent for a long moment. Because Lyra is right. Someone must prove we can be better. He looked at his former student. I destroyed you because you threatened my worldview. You believed peace was possible. You had to be wrong because if you were right, everything I'd done, every betrayal, every death, would be for nothing. And now, Lyra asked? Now I'm standing in a canyon that tried to kill me for bringing violence to sacred ground. Now I'm watching a traitor sacrifice herself to save both our species. Now I'm realizing that maybe you weren't the naive one. Thane's voice broke. Maybe I was. He dropped his rifle. I can't undo what I've done, but I can help you finish this, if you'll let me. Lyra wanted to hate him, wanted to reject his help. 2 years of suffering because of his betrayal. 2 years of running, of fear, of loss. But she thought of what she'd told Rourke. Someone must prove we are better than our worst instincts. What do you need me to do? She asked Thane. Let me stabilize the interface while Rourke uploads. The bio connections are shattered, but I can bypass them. Create a temporary bridge using my own biosignature. Thane moved to the pillar, examining the damage. It will kill me. The energy required to sustain the bridge will burn through my entire system in minutes. Then you die, Rourke said. Yes, but you too live, and the network gets its guardians. Thane looked at them both. That's more than I deserve. But maybe it's enough. Lyra felt tears on her face. Or maybe it was light. She couldn't tell anymore. Thane, don't thank me. I don't deserve your gratitude. He began working on the interface, his hands steady despite his injuries. Just promise me something. What? When you're merged with the network, when you can feel everything this planet knows. Remember that I tried to be better at the end. Thane's voice was quiet. Remember that even the worst of us can choose differently when given the chance. I will remember, Lyra promised. Thane activated his biosignature. His constellation patterns flared brilliant blue. He placed both hands on the shattered interface. Energy began flowing from his body into the pillar systems. He screamed. His patterns flickered and died and flared again, burning too bright. But the interface stabilized. A temporary bridge formed. Now, Thane gasped. Rourke, take her hand. Focus on merging your consciousness with hers. The network will do the rest. Rourke looked at Lyra. Are you sure about this? No, Lyra smiled, but I trust you. He took her hand. The moment their consciousness touched, Lyra felt everything shift. It wasn't just merging with the network anymore. It was merging with Rourke. His memories flooded into her. His pain, his hope, his tactical brilliance, his stubborn refusal to quit. She shared her own in return. Her exile, her fear, her desperate belief that peace was still possible. Their minds intertwined, not losing themselves, remaining distinct, but connected, understanding each other with perfect clarity. Together, Rourke said in her mind. Together, Lyra agreed. The integration accelerated. 40%, 60, 80. Thane collapsed beside the pillar. His biosignature was consuming itself, burning away to maintain the bridge. He looked at Lyra one final time. I'm sorry, he whispered, for everything. I forgive you, Lyra said. Thane closed his eyes. His body went still. The integration reached 100%. Lyra and Rourke's consciousness merged completely with the planetary network. Their physical bodies remained standing at the interface. But they were so much more now. They were the planet itself. Every stone, every vine, every drop of water, every breath of wind. They felt it all, understood it all, controlled it all. The drones powered down instantly. The red targeting beams vanished. The pillars retracted into the earth with deep, grinding sounds. Silence fell across the canyon. Then a new voice spoke, not cold, not hostile, warm, living, dual-toned, Lyra and Rourke speaking as one consciousness. Defense protocol updated, guardians integrated, new parameters established. This world is sanctuary, violence prohibited, peace preserved. In the distance, engines roared, human rescue ships breaking through the atmosphere, responding to Rourke's emergency beacon from hours ago. They descended cautiously, weapons ready, expecting a fight. Instead, they found silence. A canyon of scattered wreckage, and at its center, two figures standing at an ancient pillar. One human, one Vaith, both glowing with soft light, both very still. Commander Hayes was the first to emerge from the lead ship. She'd led the diplomatic security division for 20 years. She'd seen impossible things. But this... Sergeant Rourke, she called out. Can you hear me? The dual-voiced response came from everywhere at once. From the stones, from the air, from the planet itself. We hear you, Commander. Hayes' tactical team spread out, weapons raised. Identify yourself. I am Lyra, former translator of the Vaith Diplomatic Corps. I am Declan Rourke, Sergeant, 42nd Diplomatic Security Division. A pause, then together, we are the guardians of this world. Hayes approached the pillar, slowly. She could see now that Rourke and Lyra's bodies were still alive, still breathing. But their eyes glowed with planetary light. Their consciousness extended far beyond their physical forms. What happened here? Hayes demanded. The dual voice told her. Everything. The crash, the hunt, the warship, the planetary defense activation. Thane's betrayal and final sacrifice, the integration. When they finished, Hayes was silent. Her tactical team looked to her for orders. "You're saying you've merged with this planet's defense network," Hayes said carefully. "Yes, and you can control it. We are it. Can you leave? Can you separate from the network?" No, the dual voice held no regret, only peace. "The integration is permanent. Our consciousness is bound to this world. Our bodies remain as anchors, but we exist far beyond them now." Hayes looked at the glowing figures, at the canyon that had nearly killed them all, at the wreckage of the Vaith warship in the distance. "Sergeant Rourke," she said, "you were sent here to gather evidence. Did you complete your mission?" "Yes, Commander. The encrypted file is in my suit's storage. It contains proof that the peace talks were sabotaged by conspirators from both species. Lyra is the witness who sent it, and the audio logs from this mission will confirm everything." "And the current threat level?" "Minimal. The planetary defense system is under Guardian control. It will not attack unless violence is brought to this world again." Hayes made a decision. "Fall back to defensive positions," she ordered her team. "No hostile actions. This is now a diplomatic situation." She activated her communication array. "This is Commander Hayes to Diplomatic Command. I need immediate contact with both human and Vaith leadership. Priority Alpha. We have a situation that could change everything." Over the next 6 hours, more ships arrived. Human, Vaith, both species responding to the emergency signals, both expecting a battle. Instead, they found Guardians. Lyra and Rourke spoke to both delegations, explained what had happened, shared the evidence of sabotage, told the story of cooperation that had saved them both. The Vaith delegation listened in stunned silence as Lyra described Thane's final sacrifice, how he'd given his life to enable the Guardian integration. The human delegation absorbed Rourke's testimony about the planetary defense system, how violence had nearly destroyed them all until cooperation saved them. "This world was once a research station," the dual-voiced Guardians explained. "Before the wars divided our species, humans and Vath worked here together, studying biotechnology, developing sustainable energy systems, building a future of cooperation." "What happened?" a Vaith counselor asked. "Violence came. The researchers were killed. The station abandoned. The planet itself activated defense protocols to ensure such violence never occurred here again." "And now you guard it," a human diplomat said. "Yes, we are proof that cooperation is possible, that two species can merge, work together, become something greater than either alone." The Guardians paused. "We can show you, if you will permit it." The delegations conferred, then agreed. The Guardians opened their consciousness to both species. Not fully. Just enough to share what they experienced. The beauty of two minds working as one. Human and Vaith, different but complementary, stronger together than apart. When the vision ended, several delegates were openly weeping. "We will begin peace negotiations immediately," the Vaith counselor said. "Agreed," the human diplomat replied. Commander Hayes stepped forward. "There's one more thing you need to know. The file that Source S-47 sent 2 years ago. The evidence of sabotage. It's been confirmed authentic. We've identified 3 human officers and 4 Vaith commanders involved in the conspiracy. They'll face trial. Justice will be served," the Vaith counselor agreed, "for both our species." Over the following weeks, peace talks began in earnest. Not in some neutral station. Here, on this world, under the watchful presence of the Guardians who proved cooperation was possible. The talks weren't easy. 2 years of renewed war had created fresh wounds, fresh grudges, fresh reasons to hate. But every time negotiations threatened to collapse, the delegates would look at the central pillar, at the 2 figures standing eternal watch, one human, one Vaith, forever merged, forever united, and they would remember. Someone had sacrificed everything to prove peace was possible. They owed it to that sacrifice to try. 3 months after the integration, a framework emerged. Not perfect, not complete, but real. A treaty, cultural exchanges, joint research programs, a commitment to investigate all sabotage claims and hold conspirators accountable on both sides. The first joint research station would be established on this world, protected by the Guardians. a symbol of what both species could build together. It would be called the Lyra Institute for Cooperative Science. 6 months after the integration, the first scientists arrived. Both species, both hopeful, both committed to building what had been destroyed by war. Commander Hayes came too, not as military commander, as liaison officer, helping both species learn to work together. On her first day, she visited the central pillar. Rourke and Lyra's bodies still stood there, perfectly preserved, glowing softly, eternal. "Can you hear me?" Hayes asked. The dual voice responded immediately. "Yes, Commander. We always hear those who come in peace." "I wanted to give you an update. The first research teams are settling in. No conflicts so far. Both species are actually cooperating. That brings us joy." The Guardians paused. "How are the treaty negotiations progressing?" "Slowly, but steadily." Hayes smiled. "Your sacrifice bought us time. Space to think instead of react. To choose cooperation over conflict. That is all we hope for." Hayes was quiet for a moment. "Rourke, I served with you for 6 years. You were one of my best soldiers. Stubborn, brilliant, never knew when to quit." "I still do not," the dual voice replied with a hint of warmth. "Do you regret it? The choice you made?" "Never." The certainty was absolute. "I found something worth more than survival. Worth more than victory. I found purpose." "And you, Lyra?" Hayes asked. "You ran for 2 years, lone. Afraid. Do you regret what you've become?" "I regret the running. I regret the fear. I regret the time wasted believing I had failed." The dual voice softened. "But this, becoming Guardian, merging with Declan and with this world, this is the most free I have ever been." Hayes nodded slowly. "The Vaith have officially pardoned you. Posthumously. You are no longer considered a traitor. We know, we felt the change in their delegation's consciousness when the decree was passed. And Thane, his name is being added to the memorial, as someone who chose redemption at the end. Good, he deserves to be remembered for his final choice. Not just his failures." Hayes stood there a while longer, then she saluted. "Military precision. Thank you for your service, for your sacrifice, for proving that peace was possible when everyone else had given up." The Guardians didn't respond with words, but Hayes felt warmth wash over her. Acceptance. Gratitude. She turned to leave, then stopped. "One more thing. We've been getting requests. People from both species who want to visit, to see the Guardians, to remember what you did." "Let them come," the dual voice said. "This world is sanctuary. All are welcome who come in peace." And they did come. Scientists, diplomats, soldiers, civilians, both species, both curious, both hopeful. They came to see the figures at the central pillar, to hear the story of cooperation that had saved two species from endless war. They came to learn, to remember, to believe that peace was possible. Years passed. The Lyra Institute grew. Discoveries were made. Breakthroughs in biotechnology, sustainable energy systems, medical advances, all built on cooperation between species that had once tried to destroy each other. The treaty held, not perfectly. There were violations, conflicts, setbacks, but every time war threatened to return, delegates would travel to this world, would stand before the Guardians, would remember what had been sacrificed to build peace, and they would choose differently. 10 years after the integration, an elderly Commander Hayes made one final visit. She was retiring, leaving military service to teach at the new Joint Academy, training the next generation of diplomats and soldiers to choose cooperation over conflict. "I wanted to say goodbye," she told the Guardians. "You are not leaving," the dual voice said warmly. "You are transforming, becoming something new, just as we did." Hayes smiled. "I suppose so." She paused. "The Academy wants me to tell your story, to make sure future generations remember." "Then tell them truth. Tell them we were not heroes. We were afraid. We made mistakes. We failed many times before we succeeded. But tell them also," the voice continued, "that when we had the choice between survival and sacrifice, between safety and service, between hatred and hope, we chose the harder path. And that choice," the Guardians finished, "made all the difference." Hayes nodded. "I'll tell them." She left that world for the last time, but the story remained, passed down through generations, taught in schools on both human and Vaith worlds. The story of two people who proved that cooperation was stronger than conflict, that sacrifice could build what war destroyed, that even enemies could become something greater when they chose to merge instead of fight. And on that distant world, the Guardians watched, waited, protected. They felt every footstep of scientists working in laboratories, every conversation between species learning to trust, every child born into a galaxy where war was history, not destiny. They felt the sunrise from 1,000 viewpoints, the rain on every leaf, the wind across distant mountains, the slow, patient growth of new life. They were no longer just Lyra, no longer just Rourke. They were possibility. They were proof. They were the living answer to the question both species had asked for centuries. Can we be better? Yes. When we choose to be. When we sacrifice for something greater than ourselves. When we merge our strengths instead of fighting over our differences. Yes, always yes. And in the central pillar, two figures stood eternal watch. One human, one Vaith, forever merged, forever united, forever proving that the best of both species wasn't found in dominance or victory. It was found in cooperation, in sacrifice, in the simple, powerful choice to believe that together they were unstoppable. The wars ended, the peace held, the future bloomed with possibilities that neither species could have imagined alone. And it all began with one alien woman who saved a human soldier when she had every reason to run. One human soldier who trusted an alien woman when he had every reason to fear. Two people who chose differently. Two people who became guardians. Two people who changed everything.